Banerjee here with a warm applause. We thank you for being with us, ma'am. It's been an honor to discuss with you even before we came on stage. I was chatting with her. Just a brief introduction to everybody on Justice Indira Banerjee, former Supreme Court judge, also someone very vocal in the Supreme Court, very quiet, calm demeanor, but also someone who had the counsel scurrying when she asked her pointed questions. She was the youngest woman judge in the Calcutta High Court. She came from the Calcutta High Court, where she was appointed a judge in 2002. She was also for a brief stint in the Delhi High Court. She then moved as the Chief Justice to the Madras High Court. She spent 4 illustrious years in the Supreme Court of India. As I thank you for being here, ma'am, I begin my first question by really asking you.
Thank you.
About your time as a judge. What was that time like? What were the hurdles, the challenges, and how was this 4-year illustrious tenure, specifically the Supreme Court, and your other days as the judge?
I would say I had a very eventful tenure. When I was appointed judge of the Calcutta High Court, for the first 4.5 years or so, I was the only woman on the bench of Calcutta High Court. I happened to be the 6th judge to be elevated, 6th woman to be elevated as a judge of Calcutta High Court, 12 years, almost 12 years after Justice Pal's elevation as a judge of the Calcutta High Court. As the only woman, it could be a little lonely, you know, when I was not actually on the bench hearing cases, because the other judges would all group together and they would have their own coffee sessions. I invariably got excluded till I barged into my neighbor's chamber one day. And I said, look, I'm joining you. Because at that time, you know, we had cubicles. So with all the laughing that was going on in the next cubicle, I could not even do my work. And that's how I became friendly with some of the junior judges. I got the opportunity to decide different kinds of cases according to the roster which was allotted to me by the Chief Justice. And I got the opportunity to do the kind of cases which I had not handled as a lawyer. So that was interesting. It was also challenging. The initial years, I used to get tensed up when I took up cases which I had not handled before. But in course of time, I got used to doing these cases. Since I was the only woman, the senior judges who were in charge of the West Bengal Legal Services Authority and the Calcutta High Court Legal Services Authority, they used to take me along to their legal awareness camps. And I got the opportunity to address the persons who attended those camps. And I remember an interesting incident of my early days when I was told to talk about the Constitution and about the laws relating to women. And there were a group of elderly ladies sitting right in front who were listening to me with a lot of interest. Now, I was not really used to giving public speeches of that kind. But anyway, I was talking when suddenly some of the ladies told me, speak in Bengali, speak in Bengali. Bengali is my mother tongue. speaking in Bengali wasn't really a problem. But all the technical words, like the Bengali of constitution, the Bengali of sections, and as it is, it was one of my earlier public speeches. So I was very nervous. But then this also gave me the opportunity to come in contact with non-government organizations, NGOs, who had been working for trafficked women, for women who were victims of violence.
Amazing.
And yeah, yes.
It's great exposure also.
Yes,
I
yes.
actually then want to begin at the very start. We all know you had a great education foundation, Justice Banerjee, whether it was at Presidency College and then you did Calcutta, from the Calcutta Law University you did your LLB, you then moved here where, like I said, you were in the Chief Justice of the Madras High Court, some experiences there, but at the very start, like we were earlier discussing, you were a part of 3 siblings, all 3 daughters. It was at a time when there used to be a lot of questions raised when one had 3 daughters. What was your experience of that time like? Some anecdotes and some experiences, ma'am.
Well, throughout my growing years, there would be a very common question from friends, strangers, not my friends, my parents' friends, strangers. How many children do you have? 3 daughters. Oh, no son, how sad. There were even wishes when I was 9 years old and my sister was 19, 20. Never mind, next time you'll get a son. And my mother would simply jump and say, I'm quite happy with my 3 daughters, I don't want any more children.
Even when you came to the Supreme Court, you were the 8th woman in 68 years of our Constitution to be in the Supreme Court. Of course, when you were there, it was the very first time that we saw 3 women judges sitting in the Supreme Court, serving the nation, and it felt fantastic, ma'am.
3 years later, you saw 3 women appointed on the same day.
Yes, which is marvelous, but considering that it's still a statistic, do you think there is gender imbalance in the higher judiciary, and how can it be corrected?
I think the answer is in your question.
Yes.
If I was the 8th judge after 68 years after the Constitution came into force, then there is very obviously a gender imbalance. Now, if you ask me why, the answer may be slightly longish.
Please.
Judges in the Supreme Court are selected from amongst judges of the high courts and from amongst lawyers. But in the last 75 years, because we are going to complete 75 years in another few days, only 10 have been appointed to the Supreme Court directly from the bar. And one of them is a woman, Justice Indu Malhotra. Now, so far as the high courts are concerned, 66% of the judges are appointed from amongst members of the bar, and 33% from the higher judiciary. So far as the legal profession is concerned, for a long time, it was considered a men's bastion. And there was a prevalent mindset, stereotyping of the roles of men and women, stereotyping the behavior norms of men and women. This dissuaded, I would say, a lot of women from joining the legal profession. Now, they say that law is a jealous mistress.
Yes.
So one has to give a lot of time to the legal profession. And balancing one's professional life with one's family life became difficult for a lot of women. Then the stereotyping and the mindset I was talking about, the man is considered to be the breadwinner. He is expected to earn. The woman is expected to be a good homemaker, bring up the children. If the children do not do well and the mother is working, fingers are pointed at the mother, never to the father. Today we talk of joint parenting, but I think even today, the brunt of bringing up the child is borne by the mother.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right, ma'am.
You look at the mindset. I'll put a question to you. The baby is crying. She's hungry. Call
The mother.
the mother. You will not say call the parent.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Completely in agreement. I then want to go across to the time when you came to the Supreme Court. Even before that, you're the first generation woman lawyer in your family. How difficult was it, and did you face discrimination here?
Technically, I'm not the first generation lawyer,
Yes.
because my grandfather was a public prosecutor in Burma. But they moved to India when Burma was invaded during the Second World War by the Japanese in 1942.
Yes.
And in any case, my grandfather died 5 years before I was born. So I neither saw my grandfather nor did I see his library or his books.
And
You
therefore
know,
you
they had
didn't-
moved to India with a single suitcase.
And therefore, you didn't have the privilege of a second generation lawyer. So, not technically, but as a first generation woman lawyer, what were the challenges you faced? And also, in the courts, is there discrimination? Did you face discrimination, ma'am?
I thought I did.
You faced, yes. And how? Yes.
Discrimination can be of two kinds. You can have deliberate discrimination, and there can be discrimination which is not deliberate. And I feel I've faced both kinds of discrimination.
How did you tackle it, and what was the discrimination? Was it just mere glances? Were there deliberate, furtive remarks that were made? What was it, ma'am?
I'll tell you. What is the most important thing for a lawyer? A newcomer in the legal profession has to find a foothold and has to survive in the profession. He or she has to make a mark before he or she is briefed in cases. How do you get that recognition? For that, you join the chamber of a senior.
Yes.
And you get mentored by the senior. I was refused by at least 4 seniors on the ground that they didn't take women in their chamber.
Shocking.
So this was the initial discrimination. This second discrimination may not have been deliberate, was sexist remarks.
Yes.
People slightly senior commenting, oh, they've come to the profession to while away their time. After a few days, they leave. They'll get married, find a husband, get married, and leave the profession. Comments of this kind were passed till I started getting briefs, I started working, and started making my presence felt in court.
I feel these comments are there, like I was telling you, Justice Banerjee, in every field. But I think for women who are trying to make a mark in